Hey, this is Heidi Dawson. If you love all things health and wellness and style of any kind, hang out here with me each week. I'm obsessed with never-ending improvement, and it's all in an effort to help each one of us live a wildly successful lifestyle. Subscribe today so you don't miss a thing. Hi, guys. Welcome to episode 586 of the Wildly Successful Lifestyle Podcast. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. I hope you know that. Together, we're lifting the energy of the world just by working on being our best selves. So thanks for being part of that. And remember to subscribe and share the episodes if you're loving them, because 10 minutes of positive mindset work twice a week, that's sometimes all it takes to get us on a trajectory of feeling better and putting good energy into the world so that other people feel better too, because we need that, right? Things aren't always rainbows and butterflies. So if we start the day with a positive note, it helps us to deal with the little upsets that we are unavoidably going to face eventually at some point. One day, a few weeks ago, something not so great happened in my world. It must not have been that bad though, because I don't remember even what it was, but I'm talking about it because I remember the conversation around it, because I got advice that stayed with me. I was talking to Eric, my husband, who is so full of wisdom all the time. And I was talking to him about this thing that happened. And I said, everything is vibration. So I attracted this somehow, but I don't feel like I should have. How do I fix that? And he said, Heidi, there are going to be things out of your control that happen. It's how you react. It's how you move forward that matters. And ever since then, I've been sensitive to how I react to things that, in my opinion, are negative or not ideal. I notice how much worse they are if I ruminate on them, or I also notice how much worse I feel if I ruminate on them. So we have an option if we allow it to thrive, regardless of what is happening around us. It all depends on our attitude. I mean, if every little problem we encounter is accentuated and dramatized, then of course, we're going to stay in it longer. It's going to stay with us longer, and we're going to create more problems because of it. Our thriving, it's not externally based, by the way. It's an internal creation that's often mistaken for something that's external. My precious little niece recently started college. We were at dinner recently for my brother's birthday, and she just started her first couple of weeks in college. I'm sure some of you guys are experiencing that too. But she's been totally loved and has had a super close-knit family and friend group all throughout her school and high school years. But she went to college where she doesn't have that yet. Her friends are in different colleges, and of course her mom and dad can't be there for every moment. So she found the first week to be really difficult, as you can imagine. And as expected, of course, the next week was easier, and she's finding her way into the new environment, which I love. My brother said he's so proud of how she's doing because she's learning to manage things on her own. Like, she had a big dose of anxiety one certain day, and to manage it, she got outside and went for a long walk all on her own. And she said she felt so much better knowing that that was something that soothed her, that worked for her. And that's something she can come back to again and again, and she'll be better for it. See, she's growing, and with growth comes discomfort, but she's also thriving anyway. She's thriving because her way of handling some of the challenges she's dealing with moves her forward instead of setting her back. And when things get hard, it's easy to fall into bad habits that make it very difficult to thrive. And it's funny how often we think thriving means everything has to be perfect. We imagine that to feel good, to feel successful, our lives need to look like those curated social media feeds. They're flawless and sunny and effortless, but that's not real life. I mean, thriving isn't about having a life without problems. It's about how we show up for ourselves when the problems come, just like Eric told me. It's about choosing to move forward even when the path feels rocky. I mean, like my little niece, she's navigating the huge transition to college, and it's not just about finding her way to class or making new friends. It's about discovering who she is when that familiar safety net isn't there. And that walk she took when anxiety hit, that was her choosing to thrive. She didn't wait for someone else to fix it for her. She didn't spiral into, why is this happening to me? She took a step, literally, and found a tool that worked for her. That's the kind of resilience we can all tap into. And I've been thinking a lot about the idea of resilience lately, especially after that conversation with Eric. It's not just about bouncing back. It's about building forward. I mean, when something negative happens, like a work project falling apart or a disagreement with a friend or even just a bad day, we have those sometimes. It's tempting to let it define that moment. I mean, to let it color everything. But what if we just saw those moments as invitations to grow? What if instead of asking, why is this happening, we ask, what can this teach me? I mean, that shift in perspective is everything. And a big thing we can do to help ourselves have that shift is the questions that we ask ourselves, because our brain is going to answer any question you give it. It's kind of like if you put something in a chat, GPT or Grok, if you ask a question, it's going to very specifically answer that exact question. So your brain does the same thing. When you ask yourself, why is this happening? Your brain starts listing off all the reason why it's happening. So, well, you skipped class, so you missed the notes, which caused you to fail the test, which meant you had to retake the class, and now you're beating yourself up. But if you ask better questions, say, for instance, what can this teach me? Then your brain searches for what you're learning. So maybe, okay, I learned I have to make it to every class so this doesn't happen again. Duly noted. See positive movement forward for next time. So be cautious of the questions that you ask yourself in your head. Frame every question so that it moves you forward rather than dwelling on the past. I mean, and if you're at a loss for a positive question, you can always use my favorite question that I ask myself all the time. And I literally do ask this all the time. How is this working in my favor? When things are going on and I'm like, oh my goodness, this doesn't feel good, or I don't like it. I think to myself, how is this working in my favor? See, thriving is not about waiting for the perfect circumstance. It's about deciding to show up for yourself, even when things feel messy. And it's not about being positive all the time either. I know I like to be positive. I am that, and I know that. But that isn't realistic all the time. It's really more about being intentional. It's about noticing when you're slipping into those bad habits, like ruminating, like my niece could have done, or maybe even venting endlessly, which keeps you stuck in that loop of the problem. So it's not about false positivity. It's about choosing a different path if the one you're on doesn't feel good or isn't serving you. It's about intentionally choosing a path that moves you forward instead of keeping you stuck. You ever remember when you were young, maybe riding your bike, or maybe even as an adult riding your bike, and you're in a rut that's leading wherever that rut is leading? If you see a different path that you think would be better for you, you know you have to get out of that rut in order to take that different path, but you also know it's going to be a little bumpy and tricky to get out of that rut. But once you're out of it, off you go. Like life is like that too. Sometimes you're at a crossroad and one path is the same old rut and the other is leading somewhere brighter. See yourself choosing the brighter path. When we get into these well-worn ruts that are only headed in one direction, in order to get out of them, we have to do something different, which is uncomfortable, but also exhilarating on the other side. Thriving, it takes growth, and growth takes discomfort. Maybe you're thinking right now about a rut that you've been in lately. Maybe it's a habit of worrying, or maybe it's a habit of complaining. What's something you can do right now to hop onto a new path where even though life is handing you challenges, you thrive anyway? My challenge to you today is to choose intentionally, no matter what life throws your way, to look for ways you can put yourself on at least a path to feeling better, a path to moving you forward, a path where you're thriving anyway. Share this with 3 people who you would love to see thrive. I love you guys. I'll talk to you in a few days. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends, because we're just going to keep going bigger and better places together, and I love that about us. Talk to you in a few days.